In the winter of 1944, the world stood at the edge of its own ruin. Cities lay in ashes, nations had lost their sons, and across the frozen fields of Eastern Europe, the ground trembled under the weight of men who had forgotten what peace even sounded like. Among them was a soldier, quiet, sharp-eyed, and almost invisible to those who passed him. His name was Lieutenant Adrian Fox. To most, he was just another face in the mud and blood. To history, he would become something else entirely. The 8th Infantry Division had been ordered to hold a nameless valley near the village of Korsvik, a narrow gap between two hills that looked like the open jaws of death. It was said that whoever controlled that valley would control the supply lines stretching all the way to the northern front. It was, in essence, the spine of the war, and both armies knew it. The enemy was closing in. Tanks, artillery, the full weight of a desperate counterattack. Command called it Operation Stonevale, but for the men on the ground, it was something else. A death sentence wrapped in radio codes. Fox was assigned to lead Recon Unit Delta, a small squad of 6 men. They were not heroes. They were tired, half-frozen, and hungry, but they were determined, because behind them lay thousands of civilians counting on that valley to hold. "Keep your head low," Fox whispered, crouching behind the wreckage of a burned-out transport truck. He could hear the enemy's engines in the distance, faint but steady, like a heartbeat in the fog. His men, Sergeant Miller, Corporal Hayes, and a pair of young recruits who still smelled of new uniforms, watched him for orders. Fox never raised his voice. He didn't need to. Leadership wasn't in how loud he commanded, but in how steady he stood when everyone else was breaking. Night fell fast in Korsvik Valley. By dawn, the snow had turned red. Shells tore open the earth. The air itself screamed, and somewhere between the first and the 50th explosion, Fox realized something horrifying. The enemy wasn't just attacking the front lines. They were flanking from the forest behind. It wasn't an assault. It was an encirclement. If they succeeded, the 8th Infantry would be cut off completely. No reinforcements, no retreat. Fox grabbed the radio, calling headquarters. Static. Nothing else. He switched frequencies. Tried again. "This is Recon Delta, reporting enemy movement south of the ridge. Repeat, they're coming from the forest. Request immediate." The transmission died in a burst of white noise. For the next 6 hours, no one heard from Delta again. Command assumed they were gone, but Fox had made a choice, one that would define his name long after the war ended. Instead of falling back, he led his squad deeper into the forest to confirm what others refused to believe, that the enemy had built an entire forward base hidden under the snow, preparing for a surprise strike that could destroy the division. They moved like ghosts. No words, no lights, only the sound of boots pressing softly into frost. And then they saw it through the mist, under the pale light of the moon. A line of trucks, crates, and fuel tanks, hundreds of them, an entire army waiting to ignite. Corporal Hayes whispered, "Sir, we can't take that alone." Fox didn't answer. He just stared, jaw tight, calculating. To retreat meant safety. To advance meant suicide. But to stay might mean victory. He turned, met each man's eyes, and said only 5 words. "Get ready to light hell." That night, 6 men changed the course of the war. They planted explosives in silence, wiring fuel drums and ammunition crates with trembling hands. The snow absorbed every sound. Even the click of detonators felt muffled, respectful, as though the earth itself knew what they were about to do. When the charges were set, Fox waited, timing it with the enemy's resupply convoy approaching from the north. At 03:14, the first truck entered the clearing. Fox whispered, "Now." A single flash split the darkness, then another, and then the world exploded. Flames rolled across the valley floor like waves of molten glass. Men shouted, metal screamed. The forest turned into a furnace. The shockwave knocked birds from the sky. By sunrise, the hidden base was gone, vaporized, erased from maps, never to be rebuilt. But the cost was brutal. 2 of Fox's men never made it back. Another, Sergeant Miller, was blinded by shrapnel. And when reinforcements finally arrived 18 hours later, they found Fox and Hayes sitting in the snow, backs against a broken tree, staring silently at the burning horizon. Neither spoke. They didn't need to. The fire spoke for them. In reports, command called it a tactical success. But among the soldiers, it became something else. They called it the Battle for Fox, not because of the place, but because of the man who refused to run when running was the only sane choice for those who lived through that winter. The name Fox came to mean courage under fire, the kind of courage that doesn't shout, doesn't boast, and doesn't break. And though the war would rage on for another year, many would later say the tide began to turn. The night Fox lit the forest, echoes in the snow,